You know that feeling when your entire world shifts in a single moment, when everything you thought was solid just crumbles? Yeah, that was me on October 15th, exactly 7 months ago. And honestly, I'm still processing it. My name is Mia, and I need to tell you this story because I still can't believe it actually happened to me. Like, this is the kind of thing you see in movies or read about online and think, no way that's real. But it is. It was. And it changed absolutely everything. So let me take you back to that night. Picture this. I'm 32 years old, 9 months pregnant, like very pregnant, the kind where you can't see your feet and rolling over in bed is a 15-minute production. Sitting at our dining room table trying to eat the chicken parmesan I'd spent an hour making despite feeling like a beached whale. My husband Ryan is across from me, scrolling through his phone with this weird, excited energy. He keeps checking the time, bouncing his leg under the table. You know that annoying thing people do when they're itching to be somewhere else? Yeah, that. You okay? I asked him, pushing my plate away. I'd barely touched it. The baby, our daughter, who we'd already named Sophie, was sitting right on top of my stomach, making it impossible to eat more than a few bites without feeling like I was going to explode. You're good, he said, not even looking up. Just thinking about tonight. Tonight, right. His company's quarterly celebration. They did this thing every 3 months where the entire office would go out to this fancy venue downtown, drink overpriced cocktails, and celebrate whoever got promoted or landed a big client. Ryan had been talking about it for weeks because apparently there was going to be some big announcement that he was pretty sure involved him. Hey, real quick, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching this from right now. I love knowing you're out there listening to this crazy story with me. You're still going to that? I asked, even though I knew the answer. I'd been asking him all week to maybe skip it, just in case. My due date was technically 3 days away, but my doctor had told me at my last appointment that I was already dilated to 3 centimeters and that Sophie could literally come any time. Mia, we've talked about this, Ryan said, finally looking up. His tone had that edge to it, that I'm trying to be patient, but you're being unreasonable voice that had become more and more common over the past few months. This is important for my career. Jenkins basically told me I'm getting the senior analyst position. I can't just not show up. I'm 9 months pregnant, Ryan. 9 months. And your due date is Sunday. It's Thursday. The baby's not coming tonight, he said, so confidently like he had some kind of direct line to Sophie's scheduling preferences. Besides, my mom's just 20 minutes away if you need anything, and the hospital's like 15 minutes from here. You'll be fine. Fine. I'd be fine. That's what he kept saying. Everything was always fine, according to Ryan. I felt it then, this little flutter of something in my chest. Not quite anger, not quite hurt, but something in between. Looking back now, I think it was the first crack, the first moment where I really, truly saw what I'd been ignoring for months, maybe even years. That to Ryan, I was always going to come second to whatever he thought would advance his career. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I just nodded and tried to take another bite of chicken that tasted like cardboard in my mouth. Ryan stood up, already reaching for his jacket. It was 6:47 p.m. I remember because I glanced at the clock and thought, he's leaving early. The party didn't start until 7:30. I should head out, beat the traffic, he said, walking over to kiss the top of my head like I was a child being tucked in for bed. Call me if you need anything, okay? But you won't. You're tough. That's why I married you. Tough. Right. Because that's exactly what every woman 9 months pregnant wants to hear when her husband is ditching her to go drink with his coworkers. The door clicked shut behind him. I sat there alone in our dining room, the silence suddenly deafening. Our apartment had never felt so big and so empty at the same time. I could hear the couple upstairs arguing about something. They were always arguing, and the distant sound of sirens somewhere in the city. I started clearing the dishes, moving slowly because everything made me waddle now. That's when I felt it. This little flutter of something in my chest. Not quite anger, not quite hurt, but something in between. Looking back now, I think it was the first crack. The first moment where I really, truly saw what I'd been ignoring for months, maybe even years. That to Ryan, I was always going to come second to whatever he thought would advance his career. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I just nodded and tried to take another bite of chicken that tasted like cardboard in my mouth. Ryan stood up, already reaching for his jacket. It was 6:47 p.m. I remember because I glanced at the clock and thought, he's leaving early. The party didn't start until 7:30. You're still going to that? I asked, even though I knew the answer. I'd been asking him all week to maybe skip it just in case. My due date was technically 3 days away, but my doctor had told me at my last appointment that I was already dilated to 3 centimeters and that Sophie could literally come anytime. Mia, we've talked about this, Ryan said, finally looking up. His tone had that edge to it, that I'm trying to be patient, but you're being unreasonable voice that had become more and more common over the past few months. This is important for my career. Jenkins basically told me I'm getting the senior analyst position. I can't just not show up. I'm 9 months pregnant, Ryan. 9 months. And your due date is Sunday. It's Thursday. The baby's not coming tonight. He said it so confidently, like he had some kind of direct line to Sophie's scheduling preferences. Besides, my mom's just 20 minutes away if you need anything, and the hospital's like 15 minutes from here. You'll be fine. Fine. I'd be fine. That's what he kept saying. Everything was always fine, according to Ryan. I felt it then, this little flutter of something in my chest. Not quite anger, not quite hurt, but something in between. Looking back now, I think it was the first crack, the first moment where I really, truly saw what I'd been ignoring for months, maybe even years. That to Ryan, I was always going to come second to whatever he thought would advance his career. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I just nodded and tried to take another bite of chicken that tasted like cardboard in my mouth. Ryan stood up, already reaching for his jacket. It was 6:47 p.m. I remember because I glanced at the clock and thought, he's leaving early. The party didn't start until 7:30. I should head out, beat the traffic, he said, walking over to kiss the top of my head, like I was a child being tucked in for bed. Call me if you need anything, okay? But you won't. You're tough. That's why I married you. Tough. Right. Because that's exactly what every woman 9 months pregnant wants to hear when her husband is ditching her to go drink with his coworkers. The door clicked shut behind him. I sat there alone in our dining room, the silence suddenly deafening. Our apartment had never felt so big and so empty at the same time. I could hear the couple upstairs arguing about something. They were always arguing, and the distant sound of sirens somewhere in the city. I started clearing the dishes, moving slowly because everything made me waddle now. That's when I felt it. This little flutter of something in my chest. Not quite anger, not quite hurt, but something in between. Looking back now, I think it was the first crack. The first moment where I really truly saw what I'd been ignoring for months, maybe even years. That to Ryan, I was always going to come second to whatever he thought would advance his career. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I just nodded and tried to take another bite of chicken that tasted like cardboard in my mouth. Ryan stood up, already reaching for his jacket. It was 6:47 p.m. I remember because I glanced at the clock and thought, he's leaving early. The party didn't start until 7:30. I should head out, beat the traffic, he said, walking over to kiss the top of my head, like I was a child being tucked in for bed. Call me if you need anything, okay? But you won't. You're tough. That's why I married you. Tough. Right. Because that's exactly what every woman 9 months pregnant wants to hear when her husband is ditching her to go drink with his coworkers. The door clicked shut behind him. I sat there alone in our dining room, the silence sudden. I stared at my phone screen for a solid 5 seconds, Sophie sleeping peacefully on my chest, her tiny fingers wrapped around my thumb. The police. He was calling me about the police. Not, how are you? Not, is the baby okay? Not even, I'm so sorry, I missed everything. Just, the police. What? My voice came out flat, emotionless. I was so exhausted I couldn't even muster anger yet. The police showed up at the venue like an hour ago. They shut everything down, Mia. They're asking questions about the Morrison account and some documents, and I need you to tell me where you put the flash drive, the one with all the backup files from my office. I actually laughed, like a real, genuine laugh that made Sophie stir against me. Patricia looked over from where she was charting at the computer, concern crossing her face. You're calling me about a flash drive. This is serious, Mia. They're talking about fraud charges. I need those files to prove I had the baby. Silence. Complete, dead silence on the other end of the line. I could hear background noise, voices, someone talking loudly, the static of commotion. You what? I had the baby, I said, each word slowly, deliberately. 4 hours ago, our daughter, Sophie, 7 pounds, 4 ounces, born at 11:53 p.m. You missed it. You missed all of it. Oh my God. Mia, wait, are you both okay? Is she... We're fine. No thanks to you. I was surprised by how calm I sounded, like I was discussing the weather, not the fact that my husband had abandoned me during the most vulnerable, terrifying, painful moment of my life. Now, what's this about the police? I heard him exhale, and I could picture him running his hair through his hair, that thing he did when he was stressed. It's complicated. Can we talk about this when I get there? I'm leaving right now, I promise. But Mia, seriously, I need to know about that flash drive. It's in my office, somewhere, right? The black one? The black one? With all your confidential work files that you told me never to touch? Yes, that one. Where is it? Sophie made a small sound, this tiny squeak that made my heart physically hurt with how much I loved her already. I adjusted her blanket, breathing in that newborn smell everyone talks about. She smelled like hope and new beginnings and everything good in the world. And my husband was on the phone asking me about a flash drive while police apparently raided his work party. It's in the locked drawer of your desk, bottom right. The key's in that coffee mug shaped like a light bulb, the one your mom gave you that you hate. Thank you. Okay, I'm coming to the hospital right now. Which hospital? Methodist General. Same one we toured 3 months ago when you actually pretended to care about this pregnancy. He ignored the jab. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I'm so sorry, Mia. I know I screwed up. We'll talk, okay? I love you. He hung up before I could respond, which was probably good because I didn't know what I would have said. Did I love him? At that exact moment, holding our daughter while he worried more about some flash drive than asking if I needed stitches or how long I'd been in labor or literally anything about what I'd just been through, I honestly didn't know. Patricia came over with a clipboard. How are you feeling, Mama? Need anything for pain? You tore a little bit, so you're going to be sore for a while. I'm okay. My husband is coming. The words tasted wrong in my mouth. Good. Better late than never, I suppose. Her tone suggested she thought it was definitely not better, but she was too professional to say it outright. Your daughter is perfect, by the way. All her stats are great. You did good, Mia. I'd done good. Me. Alone. They moved us to a recovery room around 3 a.m. It was quieter there, away from the labor and delivery ward. Just me and Sophie in this small room with pale blue walls and a window that showed the dark city outside. I couldn't sleep, even though my body was screaming for it. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ryan at that party, laughing, drinking, celebrating whatever promotion he was so sure he was getting, while I was here going through the most intense physical experience of my life. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Jade. Girl, Derek just told me, are you kidding me right now? Do you want me to come kill your husband? Because I will. I have bail money saved. I smiled despite everything. Jade had been skeptical of Ryan from day one. She called him aggressively mediocre at our wedding reception after too much champagne, which had caused a huge fight between us that lasted weeks. But she'd apologized, supported my marriage, been my maid of honor. And now, here we are. I texted back. Baby is perfect. I'm okay. Ryan is, I don't even know. Police showed up at his party? What? Okay, I'm calling you. No, don't. Sophie just fell asleep. Long story. We'll explain tomorrow. Fine, but I'm coming by at 9 a.m. sharp and I'm bringing real food because hospital food is trash. Love you. You're a warrior goddess. At 3:47 a.m., Ryan finally showed up. I heard him before I saw him. His voice at the nurse's station talking too loud for a maternity ward at almost 4 in the morning. Then he was in the doorway, looking rumpled and stressed, his tie loosened and his shirt partially untucked. Mia! He crossed the room in 3 quick strides and reached for me, but I pulled back instinctively. He froze, hurt flashing across his face. Can I see her? I didn't say anything, just adjusted the blanket so he could see Sophie's face. She was sleeping, her little rosebud mouth making sucking motions even in her dreams. She's beautiful, Ryan whispered, and his voice cracked. She looks like you. She has your nose. He reached out tentatively to touch her tiny hand. Sophie's fingers reflexively gripped his pinky, and I watched something shift in his expression. Wonder, maybe? Or guilt? Probably both. Mia, I am so sorry I should have been here. There's no excuse. The promotion was being announced and Jenkins specifically told me I needed to be there for the speeches and I thought we had time. Did you get it? The promotion. What? The promotion. Is that why you're still in your suit at 4 a.m. instead of having rushed home the second your wife told you she was in labor? Did you at least get what you stayed for? He had the grace to look ashamed. Yeah, senior analyst, 40% raise. Congratulations. I woke up 3 hours later to Sophie crying, that newborn wail that sounds like the world is ending, because to her, it probably was. Hunger is pretty catastrophic when you're 8 hours old. A nurse I hadn't met yet was standing by the door, and morning light was streaming through the window, making me squint. "Good morning, Mama," she said cheerfully. "I'm Rachel. Looks like someone's ready for breakfast." She helped me with breastfeeding, which was way harder than anyone tells you it's going to be. Sophie latched on after like 15 minutes of both of us crying, and I felt this weird mixture of relief and overwhelming responsibility. This tiny human was depending on me for literally everything: food, warmth, safety, love, everything. Jade showed up at exactly 9 a.m., like she'd promised, bursting into my hospital room with 2 shopping bags and the kind of energy that only a best friend can bring to a disaster. Okay, first things first, she announced, setting the bags down and immediately reaching for Sophie. Let me hold my goddaughter before I go find your husband and set his car on fire. You're not her godmother yet. We haven't had her baptized. Details. Hand her over. Jade cradled Sophie expertly. She had 3 nieces and nephews, so unlike me, 12 hours ago, she actually knew what she was doing with babies. Oh my God, Mia. She's perfect. She looks just like you, thank God. Can you imagine if she came out looking like Ryan after everything? She has his nose. We can get that fixed when she's 18. Jade was only half joking. She sat down in the chair, completely absorbed in Sophie's tiny face. Hi, sweetheart. I'm your Aunt Jade. I'm going to teach you about feminism and self-defense and how to recognize red flags in men. It's going to be great. Despite everything, I smiled. I blocked Ryan's number. Jade snapped up. Good. Wait, why? I mean, obviously he deserves it for the labor thing, but did something else happen? So I told her everything. The police visit, the fraud investigation, the stolen research, Ryan's desperate phone call and his attempt to delete evidence. Jade's expression went from shock to fury to something darker that I'd only seen a few times. The look she got when someone hurt someone she loved. I'm going to kill him, she said flatly. Mia, I'm serious. I'm going to actually kill him. Do you know how long you worked on that urban development research? You spent 3 years on your dissertation. You published like 6 papers. You built a reputation in your field, and he just took it. Just helped himself like your brain was some kind of shared resource. Apparently, that's what marriage means to him. That's not marriage, that's parasitism. Jade looked down at Sophie, her voice softening. Your daddy is a parasitic fraud. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I laughed, which hurt because of the stitches, which made me wince. Don't give her a complex before she's even a day old. She needs to know the truth. But Jade's expression turned serious. Mia, what are you going to do? Like, practically speaking. I called a lawyer. Well, Detective Chen gave me a few names. I have a consultation this afternoon via video call. Family law specialist. Good. What about money? Do you have access to your accounts? Money. I hadn't even thought about money. We have a joint checking account, separate savings accounts. My savings has about $30,000 in it. Money from my book advance last year that I never touched. Transfer it to a new account today. Like right now, before Ryan thinks about it. She was right. I grabbed my phone and laptop and spent the next 20 minutes setting up a new checking account and transferring my savings. My hands were shaking the whole time. This felt real now, tangible. I was actively separating my life from Ryan's. The bags Jade brought had real food, a bagel with cream cheese, fresh fruit, a chocolate croissant, and iced coffee. Hospital food is garbage and you just pushed out a human being. You need calories. I ate while Jade held Sophie, telling her stories about all the fun things they do together. We'll go to museums and art galleries and protest marches. You're going to be so cultured and politically aware, not like your father, who apparently majored in identity theft and being trash. My phone buzzed. An email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "You need to see this, MP." Who's MP? Jade asked, reading over my shoulder. I opened it carefully, half expecting spam or something malicious from Ryan. Instead, there was a short message. Mrs. Harper, my name is Marcus Peterson. I'm the whistleblower who reported Morrison Analytics to the authorities 3 months ago. I used to work there as a junior analyst under your husband. I think you should know that what the police told you about 3 projects is incorrect. There are 7 projects where your name and credentials were used without authorization. I have documentation. I also have emails that suggest this practice was encouraged by senior management, and that your husband was far from the only one doing it. But he was the most prolific, and he specifically targeted you because of your expertise. I'm willing to testify if it helps your case. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Please contact me if you want to know more. Marcus. 7 projects. Not 3. 7. Oh my God, Jade breathed. Mia, this is huge. Like, this isn't just Ryan being a scumbag. This is systematic. The whole company was doing it. I was already typing a response to Marcus, asking him to send me everything he had. Within minutes, my inbox started filling with attachments, emails, project proposals, internal memos. I opened them on my laptop while Jade read over my shoulder. The first email was from Ryan to his boss, dated 11 months ago. Spencer Housing Development RFP. I can leverage my wife's credentials on this one. She literally wrote the book on affordable housing economics. She's on leave for the pregnancy, so she won't notice the publication. My stomach turned over. 11 months ago. I'd been 3 months pregnant, dealing with terrible morning sickness, and he'd been plotting to use me. The next email was even worse. It was from Ryan to his colleague, Derek. Yes, that Derek, his best friend. Derek, you gotta get your wife to share her login credentials with you. I'm telling you, having access to Mia's academic database is a gold mine. We can pull published research, tweak it, repackage it. These city contracts require PhD-level analysts, and neither of us have the education, but our wives do. Morrison's policy is don't ask, don't tell, as long as we land the contracts. Jenkins doesn't care where the research comes from. Derek, his best friend, was doing the same thing to his wife, Elena, who was a sociologist, and Ryan had encouraged it. He turned his own wife's expertise into a business model and coached his friends how to do the same. I'm going to throw up, I said. Don't you dare, you just ate good food. Jade was scrolling through more emails, her face getting darker with each one. Oh no, Mia. Oh no, look at this one. It was from 6 months ago, Ryan to Derek again. Mia's been asking questions about why I need her university portal password. Said something about professional boundaries. I told her I was helping organize references for one of her papers. She bought it. The key is making them feel like you're being supportive of their work, not using it. Women love that support shit. I couldn't breathe. The calculation of it, the manipulation. He deliberately played on my desire for a supportive partner, used it against me. There was a knock on the door. A nurse poked her head in. Mrs. Harper, there's a gentleman here to see you. Ryan Harper? He says he's your husband. Tell him no, I said immediately. Tell him I don't want visitors, and if he tries to force his way in, I'll call security. The nurse nodded, understanding in her eyes. Of course, honey. I'll take care of it. After she left, Jade handed Sophie back to me. I need to say something and you're not going to want to hear it. What? You need to think about divorce. Like, seriously think about it. Not just being mad right now and blocking his number. I mean actually ending this marriage. Jade, Sophie is literally 12 hours old. I know, and that's exactly why you need to think about it now. Before he sweet talks his way back in, before he convinces you that he can change or that he did it for your family or whatever line he's preparing. Mia, he stole from you for almost a year. He missed the birth of your daughter for a promotion he earned by stealing your work. And when he got caught, his first instinct wasn't to come clean or apologize. It was to try to delete evidence and beg you to cover for him. I looked down at Sophie, sleeping peacefully in my arms, completely unaware that her life had imploded before she even had a life to implode. I don't want to be a single mom. I know. And that's exactly why you're basically already are. Where was he last night? Where was he when you needed him most? He was celebrating himself, Mia, using you to boost his career while you were literally in the process of giving birth to his child. That's not a partner. That's not a father. That's a user. She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing something and accepting it are two different things. My phone pinged with another email. This one from Detective Chen. Mrs. Harper, wanted to update you. We executed a search warrant on your home and your husband's office this morning. We found the flash drive and multiple other storage devices with evidence of fraud. We also found a burner phone with messages between your husband and several Morrison Analytics employees discussing their partner program, their term for systematically using spouses' credentials without permission. The fraud extends to at least 15 different projects across the company. Total value of contracts obtained through fraudulent credentials, approximately $8.7 million. Your husband is being brought in for questioning this afternoon. You may want to ensure your home is secured as it's currently a crime scene. Let me know if you have questions. Detective S. Chen. My home was a crime scene. Our apartment, where I'd carefully set up a nursery and washed tiny onesies and nested in preparation for Selfie's arrival, was now a crime scene. They searched the apartment, I told Jade, showing her the email. Good. Let them tear that place apart. Maybe they'll find more evidence of what a piece of garbage he is. Wait, where are you going to stay when they discharge you? You can't go back there if it's...
Section 5. The news broke 48 hours after Sophie was born. I was at Jade's apartment, finally settled in the spare room she'd converted into a makeshift nursery, when my phone started exploding with notifications. News alerts, texts from former colleagues, emails from journalists. The headline on the local news website read, Morrison Analytics executive arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme, used wife's academic credentials without permission. They'd included Ryan's photo, his LinkedIn headshot where he looked polished and confident in a navy suit. The caption underneath identified him as Ryan Harper, 34, former senior analyst at Morrison Analytics, arrested on charges of fraud, identity theft, and forgery. Jade read the article over my shoulder while I held Sophie, who was crying because apparently 2 a.m. was her favorite time to be awake and angry about everything. Oh my God, Jade breathed. They named you. Listen to this. Harper allegedly used his wife's identity without her knowledge or consent to author research reports that secured lucrative city contracts. His wife, Dr. Mia Harper, is a respected economist and professor at State University who specializes in urban development. Sources say Dr. Harper was in labor with the couple's first child when police raided the Morrison Analytics corporate event where Harper was celebrating a promotion earned through his fraudulent activities. My stomach twisted. They'd made it public. The worst night of my life was now entertainment for strangers eating breakfast and scrolling through their phones. Keep reading, I said quietly. The investigation has expanded to include at least 6 other Morrison Analytics employees who allegedly engaged in similar practices, using their spouse's academic and professional credentials to enhance company proposals. The firm has released a statement condemning the behavior and announcing the termination of all employees involved. Dr. Mia Harper could not be reached for comment. Could not be reached for comment because I was at my best friend's apartment at 2 a.m., 3 days postpartum, trying to figure out how to keep a tiny human alive while my entire life fell apart. My phone rang. My mom, finally back from her cruise and clearly having seen the news. Mia, what in God's name is happening? I just got off the ship and turned on my phone and there are 37 messages and I'm seeing your name in the news and something about Ryan being arrested? Hi, Mom. Your grandmother. Her name is Sophie, and she's beautiful. And Ryan is a criminal, and I'm getting divorced. How was your cruise? Silence. Then, I'm coming over. Where are you? Are you at the hospital? Are you okay? Is the baby okay? I gave her Jade's address and spent the next hour on the phone explaining everything, while Jade took Sophie so I could talk. My mom went through all the stages of grief in real time. Shock, denial, anger, bargaining, and finally acceptance that her son-in-law was, in her words, a worthless piece of garbage who should rot in prison. I never liked him, she declared, which was revisionist history since she'd cried at our wedding and told me Ryan was such a catch. Mom, you told me at the wedding that I'd never find someone better. I was being polite. I had concerns. I just didn't voice them because you seemed happy. Classic mom logic, but I appreciated the sentiment, even if it was retroactive.
She showed up at Jade's apartment at 6 a.m. with suitcases, groceries, and the kind of maternal determination that made me feel like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't completely drowning. "Let me see my granddaughter," she demanded, and I carefully handed over Sophie, who'd finally fallen asleep after her 2 a.m. rage session. Watching my mom hold Sophie, seeing 3 generations in one room, something shifted in me. This was my family now. These women who showed up, not the man who'd stolen from me and abandoned me in labor. Over the next week, things moved fast. Too fast. Patricia Moss filed for divorce on my behalf, citing fraud, abandonment, and irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. She also filed a civil suit against both Ryan and Morrison Analytics for $750,000, compensation for the unauthorized use of my intellectual property, emotional distress, and lost opportunities. Ryan tried to call from jail 43 times before I blocked that number too. He sent letters through his lawyer. The first one started with, "Dear Mia, I know you're angry, but we need to talk about this like adults." I threw it away without reading past that line. Patricia read the rest and told me it was manipulative garbage trying to reframe his criminal behavior as a marital disagreement. 6 months later, I was sitting in my new apartment, a bright, 2-bedroom place across town with a view of the park, watching Sophie attempt to roll over during tummy time when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but something made me answer. "Dr. Harper, this is Marcus Peterson. We emailed a few months ago. I was the whistleblower from Morrison Analytics." "Marcus, hi. Yes, I remember. Thank you again for everything you did. Your testimony really helped the case." "I'm glad I could help. Listen, I'm calling because I wanted you to know something before you see it in the news. Morrison Analytics is being dissolved. The company is filing for bankruptcy after all the lawsuits and the loss of city contracts. But that's not why I'm calling." I sat down on the floor next to Sophie, who was gnawing on a teething ring and drooling everywhere. "Okay, what is it?" 7 of us, former Morrison employees who weren't involved in the fraud, we're starting our own consulting firm. We're calling it Integrity Analytics, and we want you to be a founding partner. I actually laughed. "Marcus, I have a 6-month-old baby and I'm just getting my life back together. I don't think—" "Hear me out. We need an ethics director, someone who understands the academic side and can establish protocols to prevent what happened at Morrison from ever happening again. It would be part-time, work from home mostly, and the pay would be substantial. We've already secured 2 major contracts with city planning departments specifically because they know you'd be overseeing the work." Sophie chose that moment to successfully roll from her stomach to her back for the first time. She looked shocked by her own accomplishment, her eyes wide and startled. "Did you see that?" I asked Marcus absently. "She just rolled over." He laughed. "Congratulations. Look, I know this is a lot to think about, but Dr. Harper, Mia, what happened to you could have destroyed you. Instead, you stood up, you fought back, and you changed how people think about professional ethics in relationships and in business. We want someone with that integrity leading our ethical framework." Take some time, think about it, talk to your lawyer. We're not rushing into anything. After we hung up, I picked up Sophie and spun her around gently, making her giggle. "You rolled over. You're so smart and strong and perfect." She grabbed my nose with her tiny fist and squealed. My phone buzzed with a text from Jade. "Dinner tonight? Elena wants to meet up too. She has news." Elena. I'd met with her twice since everything happened. Once right after the news broke when she discovered her husband Derek was doing the same thing Ryan had been doing, and once at their divorce proceedings, where we'd sat together in the courthouse hallway, 2 women who'd been betrayed in identical ways. She'd settled with her ex in Morrison too, though she'd asked for privacy so her story never went public. I texted back, "Yes, 6 p.m., my place. I can order Thai food." That evening, Jade showed up with wine. For them, I was still breastfeeding. And Elena arrives with a baby gift, a beautiful hand-knit blanket and a card. I made it myself, Elena said shyly, as Sophie examined the soft yarn with great interest. It's therapeutic. It's perfect, I told her honestly. She loves it already. We settled in my living room, Sophie content in her bouncer while we ate pad thai and caught up. Elena looked different, lighter somehow. Her hair was shorter, she'd gotten new glasses, and she smiled more readily. So, what's your news? Jade asked, pouring wine for herself and Elena. Elena took a sip and grinned. I got a job, head of sociology research at the Urban Institute. They specifically recruited me after seeing how I handled the Morrison situation. They said they wanted someone with integrity who wouldn't compromise their ethics for anything. Elena, that's amazing. I raised my water glass. To new jobs and new lives. We clinked glasses, three women rebuilding in different ways. How's Derek? I asked carefully. Elena's divorce had been messier than mine. Derek had fought it, tried to claim he was just following Ryan's lead, that he hadn't known it was wrong. In therapy, apparently, his lawyer sent a letter asking if I could consider reconciliation. Elena's laugh was sharp. I sent back a letter explaining that I'd rather reconcile with food poisoning. My lawyer enjoyed writing that one. Jade nearly spit out her wine. Please tell me that's a direct quote. Word for word. I'm done being nice to men who treat me like a resource to be exploited. Speaking of which, I got a job offer today too. I told him about Marcus's call, about integrity analytics, and the opportunity to build something new from the ashes of what Morrison had been. Are you going to take it? Jade asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to just focus on Sophie and teaching, but part of me thinks this is exactly what I should do. Turn what happened into something meaningful. Make sure other people don't go through what we went through. Elena leaned forward. Take it, Mia. You have a chance to actually change how consulting firms operate, to establish standards that protect people. That's huge. And it's part-time, right? You can still be with Sophie, still teach, but you can also build something that matters. She was right. They were both right. This wasn't about Ryan anymore. It wasn't about revenge or proving something. It was about taking the worst experience of my life and using it to create something better. Okay, I'll do it, I said. Sophie chose that moment to blow a raspberry, spraying drool everywhere, and we all laughed. The next morning, I called Marcus and accepted the position. Within 2 weeks, I was working from home, Sophie and a playpen next to my desk, developing ethical protocols for integrity analytics. It was challenging work, creating systems to verify credentials, establishing transparency requirements, building training programs for employees about boundaries and consent in professional context. But it felt right. It felt like purpose. My mom came by most afternoons to watch Sophie while I worked or taught my online classes. Jade brought dinner twice a week. Elena and I met for coffee every Sunday, trading stories about our new lives and occasionally laughing about the absurdity of our old ones. The text came on a Tuesday morning, 9 months after Sophie was born. It was from an unknown number. Dr. Harper, this is Ryan. I'm being released next week on good behavior. I'd like to see Sophie. I know I have no legal rights, but I'm hoping we can work something out. I've changed. I've been in therapy. I want to be her father. I stared at the message for a long time. Sophie was sitting in her high chair, smashing banana into her face and laughing. She had just learned to clap and was very proud of this new skill, applauding herself between bites. I could feel the old fear creeping in, the worry that Ryan would somehow worm his way back into our lives, that he'd manipulate me again, that I'd fall for whatever story he'd concocted in prison about redemption and change. But then Sophie looked at me with her banana-covered face and clapped her sticky hands together, beaming with pride at absolutely nothing, and I realized something important. I wasn't the same woman who'd driven herself to the hospital in labor. I wasn't the woman who'd believed her husband when he said work came first. I wasn't the woman who had accepted being used because she wanted to be a supportive partner. I was Sophie's mother. I was Dr. Mia Harper, ethics director of a successful consulting firm and professor of economics. I was a woman who testified in court, who'd rebuilt her life, who turned trauma into purpose. And I was someone who knew exactly what her boundaries were. I forwarded the text to Patricia Moss with the message, "Please respond on my behalf." He signed away all parental rights. This is harassment. He is not to contact me again or will pursue a restraining order. Then I blocked the number, deleted the text, and turned my phone face down on the table. "More banana?" I asked Sophie, who shrieked with delight and clapped again. Patricia called an hour later. "I sent a cease and desist. If he contacts you again, we can file for a restraining order. But Mia, I need to ask, do you want him to have any relationship with Selfie? Because when she's older, she might ask about her father." When she's older and she asks, I'll tell her the truth, that her father made choices that hurt people, including us, that he had a chance to be part of her life, and he chose to trade that away to avoid consequences. And that sometimes people show you who they are through their actions, not their words. But that's decision hers to make when she's old enough to understand. Right now, she has me, her grandmother, Aunt Jade, Aunt Elena, and a whole community of people who love her. She doesn't need a father who sees her as a bargaining chip. That's a good answer, Mia. A really good answer. 2 weeks later, on what would have been my 5th wedding anniversary, I did something I'd been avoiding. I went through the box of wedding photos that my mom had been storing for me. Pictures of Ryan and I dancing, cutting the cake, looking at each other like we had everything figured out. I felt nothing. Not sadness, not anger, not even nostalgia for the naive woman I'd been. Just a detached observation that those people in the photos were strangers now. Sophie crawled